Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. Alek, Koberna, Matt Morrison edition of the show. Mike Wolfgang back tomorrow to finish off the week. But, Matt, we got a winter storm coming through. Classes canceled for us today. Not much of a storm that's hit us so far, but here in Youngstown, I mean, it's starting to look a little worse here. If I open up my blinds, I mean, I don't know. It kind of looks like there isn't really much going on. We haven't had the snow here very much yet. I mean, I woke up with a light dusting. Really just looks more like it's rain, but I'm pretty sure that rain you're saying is like freezing rain. So
I'm barely
sure
snowing.
It's going to be covered with ice by the end of the evening. So I can see why stuff was canceled today. Classes canceled. Schools canceled around the valley, of course.
A lot of other universities.
Check YSNlive.com to see if any of your games are still going on. As far as I know, I think they've all been canceled, but don't take my word for that. Go double check on the YSN Live website and social medias as well to see if your game's still going on tonight. A lot of stuff getting canceled as we speak. And as I look on the YSN's network, no live games scheduled for tonight, so they've all been canceled.
Oh, boy, I bet. I didn't have any games for none either, but, I mean, it is lightly snowing now. And
it's supposed to be getting worse, so.
Yeah. A lot of other universities have canceled their classes as well. I know Clarion University has canceled. So, I mean, that's Pennsylvania. So.
Yeah, my brother lives down in Columbus. He was telling me this morning he had to let his car defrost for 10 minutes before he could even break the ice off the top of his car or off his windshield. So it's definitely a lot worse in other parts of the state than what we've had now. But you know, I'm at least expecting it to get worse as we continue to move on. But before we get into what I was supposed to be having tonight, I still got a little something to talk about with that. But I'll go into what I had last night. Cardinal Mooney girls basketball team, now one win away from claiming the Steel Valley Championship. And, of course, it's the holy war they get to do it in. Cardinal Mooney versus Ursuline. Winner wins the Steel Valley Conference for girls basketball. Mooney coming off a win last night, 56-14 against Cheney. Cheney drops to 0-5 in conference play. 0-5 in conference play. They've had a rough season. Definitely going to have to turn things around next year. But it was a dominating performance from this Cardinal Mooney squad. I mean, right from the tip-off, this team was all systems go. I mean, it was kind of close at first, but then Mooney they just put the pedal down and they ran away with it. Two different girls outscored Cheney in this game single-handedly. It was Scavina and Maria Fire. They each finished with more points than Cheney did in this basketball game. They played a fantastic game of basketball, and it was really a great game, final regular season home game for Cardinal Mooney. They are still looking, though, for a potential rescheduling. I don't imagine that'll be in Steel Valley Conference play because all conference games will have been played after this Friday. But at the moment, they're riding a 4-game winning streak. They've played great in all of those defensively. Offense still needs a bit of work, and they're going to get tested against Ursuline on Friday. So long as that game happens, I mean, it should be a good one. It decides the Steel Valley. If that game gets canceled and they don't elect to make it up, Steel Valley Conference ends in a tie for first place between rivals. So I imagine they're going to look for a chance to reschedule that if it ends up getting canceled for tomorrow evening. But my game for tonight was supposed to be the Liberty Leopards going against Campbell Memorial. It seemed pretty much a shoe-in. Liberty was going to win that game. They dominated earlier in the season. This is girls basketball. It was a 52-12 win, I think, earlier in the season when they last met up. So it probably wasn't going to be much of a game, but it was interesting to see how this Liberty squad went in there on the high streak they're on. I mean, dominating everybody. I don't know if they're going to reschedule this or not, but as it stands, since every game was canceled tonight, if this game is not rescheduled and they don't make up the conference game, Liberty just won the MVAC Gray Tier for the first time in over a decade. So for them, it's great. Yeah, I mean, and so long, I mean, that is based on winning percentages, which I believe is still what determines who takes home the championship. Because right now they're sitting at a .917. Champion in second place is at a .8, and those two are scheduled to meet each other in the final game of conference play for the season. Coming up just next week should be a really good one, actually, between these two teams. Last time, it was a blowout 30-point win for Liberty, but I'm expecting this late in the season. A different story. That game's on Monday, but Brookfield's in the middle, and tonight's game against LaBrie for champion was canceled. But even if Liberty was to lose that game, they would fall to 11-2. Champion, if they win both games, would be at 10-2. So the winning percentage would still sit in favor of Liberty. So at the moment, Liberty has claimed the MVAC title, the MVAC Gray Tier over Champion. Now, depending on how reschedulings work, that could change. But tonight basically would have been the coronation if they had come across with a win against Campbell Memorial tonight. So Champion, maybe just hoping that, Liberty gets some reschedulings in there against in-conference opponents and goes down, because they have one in-conference loss, and that came to your Brookfield Warriors, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, Brookfield had taken the L the other night against Champion, but still a solid team. Sometimes you're just not in that rhythm. They were in that rhythm that night against Liberty, but the other day against Champion, it just they didn't look like that team that we've seen out there on the court this whole year. They had an off night, and they're going to come back at it and get back on track here very soon. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Definitely interesting way to finish out the season. Steel Valley and the MVAC coming down to the wire. I mean, I love to see it. Boys basketball right up there in it too. Once I get some more of those games to finish out the year, I'll make sure we talk about them. Playoffs coming up as well. And keep in mind, tournament draw for boys basketball is this coming Sunday, February 6th. They set the boys playoff brackets. We found out the girls earlier this week. And Matt, both of our teams top seeds going into the playoffs and have a chance to meet again in the district finals, which should be awesome.
Should be sweet.
All right. Well, before we get into the show, Matt, you've been doing anything today on your snow day since we were just talking about it? Not doing much going on. What have you been up to today?
Just laying around. I've been watching movies. I watched First Blood this morning, and then I figured I'd watch the Storm movie. So I was watching The Day After Tomorrow. This is a good watch if you're snowed in, because this is a weather movie. But that's all I'm going to be doing today. Probably some homework later if I feel like it. But
right. No, well, you've been doing that. I'm out here. I made homemade donuts in my air fryer. I got an air fryer for Christmas. I made homemade donut bowls. I figured I'd show it off on camera here. It's kind of hard to angle down in there, but they look okay.
I want to take it.
I know. I mean, I'm excited to eat that. I might sneak it in here on the show while you're talking at some point. No, I was I went to the store the other day and I bought donuts, and I don't think they got bagged when I was at the store. So I came home and I was going to eat them the next day, and I didn't have any donuts. And I was just like, I really want donuts. And we get snowed in today. I was like, I guess I can look up how to make donuts. This is a 3-hour process to make donuts. I didn't realize it took this long. But 3 hours later, I did this at 11 a.m. It started at 11 a.m. And now they're ready. Of course, just as the show starts.
Did you get dough, and what'd you do? What was the process here?
So I made the dough from scratch. I used up the rest of the flour I had in here. You put all the ingredients in there, and you got to let the dough rise for 2 hours. And so I was like, I was like reading through this recipe. I figured, okay, I'll just start it and, it'll be fine. And I didn't realize how long it was supposed to take when I started the recipe. And I get to the point, it's like 11 o'clock. We're ready to, let this thing set. And then I'm reading the, recipe, and it just goes, let dough sit for 2 hours. And I went, oh, come on. Here I was thinking, I'm 20 minutes away from eating some, tasty homemade hot donuts. And instead it's like, okay, so you have to let it rise for 2 hours, then cut them into little balls and let those sit for another hour. So by the time I finish, they're going to be ready to go as soon as I start the podcast. Which is exactly what happened. I was out there 30 seconds before I hit the live button, making this one donut ready to go so I could show it off here to start off the show.
Oh, man.
So I made my donuts. I don't even get to enjoy them before we
We're going to have like a cooking edition of the show.
Right, yeah. I'm just going to take my computer out there. People can see the whole process.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the actual sports here. 10 minutes in college basketball. One of our games that we were supposed to talk about, Iowa versus Ohio State, got canceled today because of the weather.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we only had 3 basketball games that I had planned on talking about today. I might go back looking here if we need some more down at the end of the show. But it was just like, oh, come on. This was going to be a really great game for a Big Ten play. Ohio State trying to bounce back from the Purdue loss. I mean, should have been a great story to kind of walk through, but instead we're going to start things off in what should also be a really, really phenomenal game. UCLA and Arizona, round 2 of this fierce matchup. I mean, UCLA walked away with the win last time these two met just a week ago. I mean, it was 75-59. They blew them out. And they somehow shut down the most prolific offense in college basketball. I mean, potentially the most prolific offense that we've ever seen in college basketball with the way they were playing. So, I mean, I think you get back around to this point 8 days later, UCLA basically is in the same spot Arizona was, and Arizona's in the same spot UCLA was. Arizona's been given a 73% chance to win this, and they have a 7-point favorite in their direction. But I mean, I think we have to give a little bit of credit now, potentially, to UCLA's defense, what they did in that last time around. And I definitely think it creates some question marks now that they reface each other a week later.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA, I mean, we've talked about them before. Oh, God, you're distracting me. But UCLA, I mean, I like what they've done. You know, I like how they bounced back. Let's put it like that, you know. And hopefully we can see more from that as I can't focus when you're eating that donut. You make me jealous. I don't have anything here. I got a bag of Doritos I can go get. Oh, man. I can't.
They're okay. They're not great.
Oh, man. They're not great?
They're okay.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Not worth the 3 hours.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Man. That's
Let's just skip sports
bite
today
into
and
a donut ever.
Let's just skip sports and talk about food.
Man, you know, it's one of those days, right? I mean, it's Thursday. There's not a ton going on.
No.
We'll get down to the other show. We'll make it a food podcast.
Yeah, we'll make it a food podcast. We'll talk about something.
Well, I guess we'll have to get there
about?
first. UCLA and Arizona.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was talking about UCLA. That's right. But Arizona, on the other hand, I mean, they've looked unstoppable. Oh, okay. Dear God. But Arizona, the Wildcats, I mean, they've been fantastic. You know, they've only – how many games have they lost? 1 second. But
they both lost 2.
They both lost 2 games. The Arizona 17-2, where the Bruins are 16-2. Arizona, though, I mean, they were up there. They were, you know, ranked second or third. They were up in our top 4, and then they took that big loss against UCLA just a little bit ago. So we're gonna get a rematch here. I think they're going to be refocused. They went in, they were revamped. They beat Arizona State, which is a rival. I mean, it's in the same state. It's a rival. They went in there, they beat them, and I think they're ready to go. I think they'll plus they're in Arizona this time. They're not in UCLA. They're in their home court. I think they're going to be ready to go, and you know, we'll just have to see what happens. All the odds are in their favor in this game because they're at home. They just lost to him. They want to get that bad mouth out of their. They want to get that bad taste. Yeah, be quiet. They want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. You know, like you just like you there. You want to get that bad taste out of your mouth because those donuts.
It wasn't bad. I said it was okay.
You said it was
there was a
okay,
saving
but
grace to it. I put some maple syrup in the glaze, and that tasted fantastic in there.
Oh God, but. They are favored in this game by 6.5. They actually have a 72.9% to win to this game, and they just lost to them. So it's got to be because they're at home. They'd had a pretty good win the next day or the next game they played against Arizona State. They're ready. I think they're ready to bounce back. They were falling asleep against that game. They saw UCLA. They lost to some bad teams, or they should have won games that they were very high vamped in, and they didn't, and they took them lightly, and that's what happened. Yeah,
man, you know, when you talk about these two teams, I mean, every number says Arizona should win this game, and every number said they should have won it last time, and I mean, you saw it. They couldn't find a way to win, and it was a bad shooting night for them. I think maybe one of the biggest things is I don't think you can expect a bad shooting night out of Arizona again because it already happened. I think they're going to come back a different animal, and you know, it's very hard to beat a team twice. I mean, you just saw it in the SEC when back in football, you know, about a month ago, Georgia and Alabama. First time, I mean, it was a butt kick, and you pretty much second time around, you went, I think I already know what I'm going to see. First time around with this game, UCLA, Arizona, it was a butt kick. And second time around, you think you know what you're going to get. You think, yeah, UCLA, you know what? They did this once before. They're probably going to do it again. But at the same time, now they know what works against you. And Arizona's going to come back with a different game plan. And Arizona knows how they lost last time. They're going to avoid those same mistakes that plagued them in their last matchup, because I still feel Arizona is a better basketball team. They had a bad night. If they put another bad night up there, then maybe they're not such a great team. But I think in the grand scheme of things, this Arizona squad is going to make a run come March. Whether they're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, or hell, even a 4 seed, this team is going to get down there to the Elite Eight. I don't really have a question about that. With the
they're going to be there.
UCLA and Arizona very well could meet up in a national championship game, depending on how March Madness pans out. These are both very talented. And besides UCLA's defense, no one's been able to touch Arizona all season long. They're the highest scoring offense in college basketball.
Yeah, and they just got caught on an off night. I really think that's what it is. They came in there saying, "Oh, UCLA, they're overrated. They lost really badly to Gonzaga, and then Gonzaga lost some games. Yes, they're still up there, but now they have a weak schedule. Now, go ahead, go do what you need to do." You're burning something. He's going to do something. Probably messing around with his maple syrup and his donuts again. Dear God. But now I got the mainstream, so I can talk.
Nope.
Oh, no. That lasted for a half a second. Man,
oh, good. Someone had to ask me a question.
I was going to start talking about movies and stuff.
It was about the donuts, though. You were right.
I knew it.
My wife fiance asked me if she wanted them to be glazed yet. I'm like, no, I'll do that after the show. It's fine.
We'll go do it right now and show us.
No, it's okay.
No, I want to see.
Matt, who do you want here, Arizona or UCLA?
I'm going to go. I really think Arizona just got caught on a bad night, and they're going to come back revamped, and they're going to take this game. I got to go Arizona here. Everything's saying it, and I'm
jumping on there right along with you. I think Arizona's coming back the vengeance tonight. I think they're going to have a great performance. I imagine this game probably to take the over on, I believe it was 148.5. I think both of these teams go big tonight. I got Arizona in a shootout simply because I think they have the better offense. I mean, I think Mathurin may not be as much of an impact player as Johnny Uzang, but I think you come down end of the game. I feel like Arizona maybe has the playmakers more spread out throughout the team than what UCLA does. I mean, I think that's just due to this team being so proficient in their scoring. I think they got more guys that can take that final shot rather than UCLA.
Yeah, right. But Uzang is like their only key player right there. I like that. I mean, Campbell's really good. I really like him, and so is Jaquiz Jr. But those aren't your key guys. Like, Uzang is the main guy. If you take Benedict Mathurin out, they still have Koloko, Kreisa is good. They still have guys that are like, hey, go ahead and take a break. We'll take it. When Uzang isn't in play, it's like, man, what happened? Like, where is this team?
Yeah, I'm interested to see
what it looks like.
We're going to be able to watch, though, since, who knows what'll be going on tomorrow.
There's been some times where he just goes off, but, I mean,
he's a great player. I mean, he'll go high in the draft this year, no doubt. I mean, he was a high projected guy last year and decided to stay in others. So I got no doubt. But let's move on here to our next game here. About 20 minutes into the show, Gonzaga Bulldogs in action against the San Diego Toreros. 23-point favor right now for Gonzaga. They've been given a 95.1% chance to win this game. They're going to win it, but I think this is. No, not 100.
How does it not?
There's
100%?
a chance.
How is it not 100%?
There's always a chance.
How? Is it just
because
like, dude, we don't want to?
I don't think Gonzaga's the home team. That is why it's not 100%.
Are you serious? Oh.
They're at San Diego, so it's not 100%. If they were at home, it would probably be like 99.3% because I think that's the highest I've seen on there. It was like a 99 point something.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I think this is just a good opportunity to kind of present to everybody what we've been talking about the West Coast Conference, because San Diego, they're 6-3 in conference play, and they're third place right now behind St. Mary's and Gonzaga for the conference. And I think this is just a prime example of what's been going on in the WCC and why we say the things we do about Gonzaga, because they're going up against this, number 3 team in their own conference, and they're favored by,
23
points. This is just a great example, and I think maybe if anything we see out of this game is that Gonzaga maybe struggles just a little bit. I'm not saying a lot. I don't think San Diego has a lot to put up against them. You know, they're a fine team. They're not by any means the super team that we're basically seeing out of Gonzaga with Nembhard, Holmgren, and Timmy. I mean, it's a fantastic trio, and you love the way Nembhard has stepped up in the second half of the season as well for the Bulldogs. But with the way Timmy's producing, I mean, he's at a 62% mark from the field right now. That's phenomenal to see. And they're averaging 91 points per game. They've jumped up to first place in college basketball with their scoring. I still think Arizona's a better scoring team because they play better teams than I mean, they're not going up against Portland, Loyola Marymount, Pacific, Pepperdine, Santa Clara. I mean, they're going up against teams in the Pac-12 in a power conference, and you know, I think Arizona State would give St. Mary's a run for their money, and that's one of the worst teams coming out of the Pac. So this is just an example to show out a bad conference a little bit and show everybody what Gonzaga is going up against. I got Gonzaga to win the game, Matt. I imagine you do as well.
Oh yeah. And it will be.
You're not going against the 23-point spread?
No.
If anything, I might pick. I don't know if I'd go with the spread there. 23 points is a lot, and I mean they are coming off of a 32-point win against Portland, who's an 11-10 team, so they can do it. I mean they beat Loyola Marymount by 34 points. They beat San Francisco by 26 points. They beat Santa Clara by 32, and they beat BYU by 26. So you know what? I'm going to take – you might be able to take the spread there. They've been killing people in the WCC. I mean, it's not even close at this point.
No. But I do look forward to the matchup between Zaga and St. Mary's because the St. Mary's Gales, 17-4, they're right behind them. I think that's going to be their most physical game.
And we have to wait all the way another little over a week for this one because it's on February 12th and it's a 10 p.m. game.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think it's on national TV, so you're not going to get to watch it anyways.
No.
Gonzaga has so tonight's game is on ESPN2. Their next game on Saturday against BYU is on ESPN, and then they have two more ESPN2 games against Pepperdine and San Francisco to finish out the season.
Okay, so that San Francisco game should be interesting again too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a blowout, but I almost just wonder, they've been scoring so high recently. They're on a 10-game win streak. If we see them kind of step off the throttle a little bit, maybe get, scared down through, that first half and a half of basketball, if you just see them kind of come down to a game they probably shouldn't be as close are in that final, 10-8 minutes and then make that pull away, which is why I say maybe don't look at that 23-point spread. I just wonder if they're going to get a little too cocky with it right now with the way they've been playing. But, I think maybe the one thing we know with Gonzaga is they know how to handle the pressure. They've been here so many times. I don't think they're going to crumble. I just wonder if they take that foot off the gas. I still think they're going to win it, though, no matter what.
Yeah.
But before we move on here any further, we do have to take a moment to recognize the loss of an NBA legend today. A two-time NBA Coach of the Year, won a championship with the Boston Celtics, died yesterday at the age of 89. The Cleveland Cavaliers confirmed it. He began his 25-year NBA coaching career with the Cavaliers for the 1970-71 campaign. He was part of the team that went to 3 playoff appearances, including the Miracle of Richfield squad, helmed by Austin Carr in the 75-76 season when he was first named Coach of the Year. The loss of Bill Fitch, definitely a hard one for Cleveland.
Very much so.
For so long. Obviously a big name out of Boston. His first season, he got to work with future Hall of Famer Larry Bird. They won 61 games in that season, and he was Coach of the Year for the second time. They won in the next season, they won the 81 title over the Houston Rockets, and then finally resigned in 83, was then hired by the Rockets and, kind of bounced around to finish out his career as you see most colleges do. And, he was also a college coach at Minnesota, Bowling Green here in Ohio, North Dakota and co. And he was named one of the top 10 head coaches in history during the NBA's 50th anniversary celebration back in 1996, and he is a member of the National Basketball Hall of Fame. Just a couple years ago in 2019, he was elected to that with a career win-loss record of 944 and 1,106. So doesn't actually have a losing career record, but definitely has his name up there in the record books for what he was able to do with a couple of different programs.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Fitch, I mean, the guys he coached, I mean, of course, Austin Carr, Jim Jones, and actually, I was like, when I was at the Cavs game just like last week, literally where I was set up for YSN, Jim Jones was sitting right, like he would be sitting right there. He's set up on that Joe Tate perch, and we had seats near there for the game, and we actually saw him, and I was watching him what he was doing and stuff. And I didn't want to go over and bug him and say hi to him. It's Jim Jones. He's busy. But I mean, that's one of the guys he coached, and I don't think Jim Jones would have been Jim Jones without Bill Fitch, and
would Larry have been Larry Bird without?
Yeah, and Larry Bird, that was Larry Bird's first coach, NBA
that was
coach,
his rookie year.
There. His rookie year, they brought him in, and then even when he went to Houston, he coached Hakeem Olajuwon. So I mean, he coached legends. This guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why he was inducted into the Hall of Fame when he was. Yeah. The career record isn't great, but he was able to turn some players great.
Very much so.
And yeah, there's my dad watching the game, the show live today. But as we continue moving on, definitely a huge loss for the NBA world, and it's been a sad year so far. A lot of people are going out.
Yep. Yeah.
Always the beginning of every year, you see
it's only February. It just turned February.
Yeah, but in honor of Bill Fitch, let's talk some NBA here for a minute. Chicago Bulls tonight, 7:30, going up against the Toronto Raptors. Raptors actually given a 66% chance to win this game. Zach LaVine still on a day-to-day right now with the Bulls, unsure whether or not he will play tonight. And Kem Birch is out for the Toronto Raptors. Other than that, though, both of these teams are coming into this pretty hot. I mean, you've seen the Raptors take down Miami twice in their last 3 games. They did lose to the Chicago squad, though, back on the 26th by 6 points. But, I mean, both of these teams are playing fantastic basketball. I think Toronto, though, they've had a little bit of a harder stretch down these last 5. Last 5 games for Chicago, Oklahoma City, 111 to 110. Barely winning that. They beat Toronto. Obviously, we talked about that by 6. They lost to San Antonio by 9 points. They beat Portland and they beat Orlando. Not a very rough schedule. So they're either coming into this one super rested, ready to go, or they're going to come into this one flat. And I'm interested to see how they come out of the gates, because I think with the way the Raptors have been playing, they've been winning some very tight games. They went to triple overtime against Miami and won. And they beat Atlanta in regular time on the 3rd game of a road stretch. And then they beat Miami at home 110 to 106. They've been playing tight basketball. And I think maybe the one thing you can say with Toronto this season is they're not the superstar team that we've had them at in the past. They're definitely not as great of a team as they were when Kawhi Leonard was there. And, he was their superstar, leading them to titles and whatnot, or a title. But, I mean, they still have some very solid players from that championship squad. I mean, Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet are 2 awesome guys. But Scotty Barnes has really cemented himself this season as a fantastic young player for this team. And you really have to love to see it at what we're going at right now for the NBA. I mean, we got a great influx of young players, especially with the, what looks like an aging veteran class that's set to leave here with all the injuries. I mean, we're going to see the, departure of, obviously, in the NFL, all their legends. I think the next year or two, we're going to see the departure in the NBA of all of our current legends that we have.
Yeah, we already saw it in the NFL.
You're just seeing the injuries add up for all of these old guys, and the young guys now have taken off, and they're sky high. I mean, you got John Morant, Devin Booker, just two names that are making huge statements for themselves. Mobley, in just his rookie year, is making a huge statement for rookies everywhere. And I mean, the rookie class we have this year is loaded with guys that are making huge impacts. In Oklahoma City here, they have a great one too, as I'm trying to pull up what his name is.
I know who you're talking about. Giddey.
Josh Giddey.
Yeah, Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey. He joined LeBron James as like the only person ever get to 500 points, 300 rebounds, 300 assists in like their first season or first half of the season or whatever. So, I mean, it was definitely a fantastic start for him. And I think we're just going to continue to see more of this with the jumps that we're seeing coming out of the G League now, coming out of Europe and other basketball organizations. Australia obviously gave us LaMelo Ball. He was down there in the Australian Basketball League. He had problems with the college game. And, we're just seeing people coming from different places. And then we're also seeing college basketball right now, maybe going through what I would say maybe is greatest growth phase of all time. The level of athletes we're coming out of high school at this point are infinitely better than what you saw even when LeBron James was there. Obviously, we had some great high school athletes back then, but I think they had more. You have superstars in the field. Nowadays, you have the superstars here, and the field's not too far behind them. So I think you're getting so much more talent coming out of high school now that college is getting a better influx of guys. And as a result, it's translating to the NBA. And we're seeing every year stars coming out of everywhere in the NBA. So, this Scotty Barnes is just a prime example. And so is Fred VanVleet of what you can do.
Yep.
Coming
he was undrafted at Wichita State.
Different situations. What?
Yeah. He was undrafted out of Wichita State. Look what he's done. I mean, players come from anywhere.
Yeah, he's the leading scorer with 21.5, and he also has 7 assists per game right now. So, I mean, fantastic. Pascal Siakam also, another guy that, he got helped out by the American system. But, I mean, he made a statement for his own with his whole story. So, I mean, it's amazing what we're seeing. But this game between the Bulls and the Raptors, obviously this Bulls team is exactly what they wanted to be at this point in the season, exactly where they wanted to be. They put together kind of I would say like a lower class super team. I mean, it wasn't, the super team that you think of when you go Clippers, Lakers, Nets, or, this team put something together of a bunch of guys that wanted to win so bad. And I mean, I think you see that. DeMar DeRozan, that is a guy that has been searching for victory his entire career. I mean, he got shut down by LeBron for 7 years?
It was called LeBronto.
Yeah, it was LeBronto at that point. He gets sent down in the Kawhi Leonard trade to the Spurs, a team that finally failed to make the playoffs. You got Zach LaVine, a guy who's been so loyal to Chicago in these last few seasons and has been great.
After he
there.
started where?
He was to rely on him as a solid point scorer. And he was down in Orlando, wasn't he? Minnesota. That's where he was.
It was Minnesota.
Yeah, but these last few years, he's been very loyal to this program. I mean, very easily could have requested a trade or opted out of a contract at any point. He stuck around. He bought into what this program was putting out there. Lonzo Ball joined him, and that just feels like a guy that he's been rejected everywhere he's went. He didn't want to be Zion Williams 2-man. He didn't want that. I mean, they were playing phenomenal together. He didn't want to be a Zion's number 2 guy. He wanted to win. He didn't want all of this pizzazz everywhere. And then you brought Ayo Dosunmu out of Illinois, a guy who is carrying that team through the March Madness and through the Big Ten, an absolute beast. Then you bring in Alex Caruso, everybody's, favorite white guy in the NBA, basically. I mean, that's basically what he was made out to be, as LeBron's, wingman out there in LA. I mean, LeBron was calling this guy the GOAT. He's just that fun, energetic player. But at the same time, he has that winning mentality that you strive for in every basketball player. And then Nikola Vucevic. I mean, bringing that guy from Orlando who stuck out there as an all-star making millions for 8 years and finally went, all right, I'm taking the pay cut. I want a title. And jumps up here to Chicago. I mean, they have, and that's not even mentioning everybody else they have out there. Kobe White, a phenomenal young point guard. Javonte Green, a little bit older, small forward, but still produces a young Patrick Williams who is fiery underneath him. And you saw him get in
Derrick Jones Jr. too.
Derrick Jones Jr., a dunk champion. Alfonso McKinney, formerly of the Cavs. Tony Bradley out there. Tyler Cook. I mean, Simonovic and Troy Brown. They just have guys on this team, especially that starting 5 and then the 6-7 guys that just they feel different. This feels like a team that finally wants to win because they've had good teams over the past, 20 years with, Derrick Rose, and they had teams that were good, but I don't feel like they ever had that killer mentality. This is a team that has that. This is a team that is so different from what Chicago's had since really the 90s. That was a team that had everybody that could win, and they wanted to win. I mean, Michael Jordan was the phenomenal leader because everything he wanted was gold, and he got it because he wanted it more than everybody out there, and he knew he could. The Bulls now, they put together a squad that wants it more than everybody else, and they have the guys that can do it as well. This is a different Bulls era than I think we've ever
very
seen
much
before.
so.
I mean,
Very
obviously,
much so.
the highlight was the 90s, but I think this team they've assembled now is better than what they were during the Derrick Rose years.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Even when Rose was winning MVP and he was undoubtedly one of the best young stars in the NBA,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think this is a better team
This is
because
the
I
best.
feel they're more solid. They have more people. They have a system people are
They
buying
don't
into.
just
I don't
have
think you had that
Derrick
last
Rose. Like, they just don't have a Derrick Rose. They have 4 of them. You
right.
know? And
Maybe
DeMar
not at his
DeRozan,
level,
Chicago.
but Zach LaVine
helped.
brings that same explosiveness, and so does DeRozan.
Yeah. And Chicago saved DeMar DeRozan's career. He was sinking in with the Spurs. He wasn't that revamped player that he was in Toronto, who's going back to play now they're in Toronto. So that's always fun to see, because it was always DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Those were the two. That was a dynamic duo. What just 5-6 years ago?
Yep.
Those were the guys that I was always scared to play them.
LeBron had to get through them to get to Golden State.
Yeah, they were scary. They were a scary team. Now that's what DeRozan looks like now. He looks like that old DeMar that wasn't existent for like 3 years in San Antonio. He's back.
No,
he's back now,
was
and you know
wasted.
what? He's pissed. He wants to win.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yeah, he wants that. He's touched that Eastern Conference Finals so many times. He's got to get it at some point, right?
He's got to get it.
I mean, he seems to be like a young version of Chris Paul. Just has all the talent. He keeps getting there, and he keeps coming up short. And he's running a very similar
Chris
career
Paul's
path.
mad too.
He might not get that gold until he's later in his career, like you're seeing with Chris Paul.
Yeah, but
we got to make predictions on this one. Stop talking about it. I'm going to take the Bulls in this game, Matt. I imagine you're going right along with it.
I'm going the Bulls.
You're going Bulls?
Heck yeah! I do like what Toronto's doing. They're a rebuild team, and they're 3 games over 500. If I was a Toronto fan, I'd like what they're doing. They have. If
I'm a Toronto fan, I think they can win it tonight. But as a semi-unbiased broadcaster, I really like what Chicago's done this season, and it feels silly to doubt them at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Next game here, though, I'm going to go with a quick pick on it. LA Lakers, LA Clippers. It was an interesting game. I wanted to throw another team in here since there was no NHL. I was like, let's just grab another game. This is the Battle of LA. Some battle. I've had games at chess more interesting. And in this game, I'm taking the Lakers. LeBron's potentially still out for this one, but I think the Clippers have a lot of injuries. They're coming off. I mean, they lost 2 of their last 3. They lost to Indiana 3 nights ago. Game 2 of the season, I think, goes towards the Lakers. Game 1 was a 4-point in favor of the Clips, but a lot more injuries now on the Clippers side of things. I got the Lakers.
Yeah, I got to go Lakers too. They're old, but they're not. I mean, they're not too injured.
They're not as beat up right now.
Yeah. So, besides of the arthritis, they'll be fine.
Yeah, big news coming out here in college football. We'll go into this now to finish out the show, and then we got one more segment afterwards. This one, big news this morning. Alabama defensive coordinator Pete Golding was arrested on a DUI charge earlier this morning. He's a 37-year-old just completing his 4th season with the Crimson Tide, including 3 years as the DC. He helped the program sign the number 2 recruiting class and the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings, which ranked as the 3rd best recruiter in the cycle. And I think this is a potential huge problem that, Tuscaloosa has yet to put out a statement. Obviously, it was just this morning, but I think it's definitely an interesting story to follow along. I wanted to briefly mention it here, especially with all the seemingly DUIs we've had this year throughout sports. I think this is really the biggest one we've seen this year coming out of college football. Obviously, Ohio State's one of their transfer quarterbacks was involved in a situation earlier in the year. He's transferred out, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. It was one of the guys that transferred, though.
Oh, okay. Maybe was it Miller?
I don't remember. I don't want to say the wrong name and put it next to a DUI.
Yeah.
So,
but this is definitely becoming a problem. I mean, obviously the whole Henry Ruggs thing was. I mean, we won't go too deep into it.
That was like the icing on the cake that really showed everything out to the world. But this has seemingly been a problem for a while, and I hope these programs can start doing something to help out. Not just the young players, obviously
it's the coaches now.
Because if this is going to be a problem at the top of the level, I'm interested to see how Nick Saban handles this with, what he's put into this program. His entire, career is not really at stake, but, kind of just that air around him of greatness. It kind of just pops a little hole in that bubble and go, yeah, but why is this happening under your watch? I thought you're supposed to be this great guy that brings everybody together and saves the world. And now you got guys kind of messing up here. I'm interested to see how he handles it. I don't know when we'll see statements from anybody coming from Tuscaloosa, if we will see anybody making statements on this. But I'm interested to see it. Maybe if you see Pete Golding have to take a step back from being defense coordinator. I wonder if, something will happen out of this. I think an interesting story potentially to watch as well. And other big news in college football, Jim Harbaugh will be staying, as you're sideways here. Jim Harbaugh will be staying at Michigan. Minnesota did not offer him the job in the NFL as Matt continued to be sideways. I'll kick him out of here for just a minute. Other big news, I think that kind of keeps Michigan in the hunt there for going into next season, but I think it starts to hurt their rankings and hurt the recruiting, because now you're seeing players that are going to look at their coaches and go, oh, so you're expendable. You're out of here as soon as somebody gives you the right contract. Matt, as you're back in here, now he's officially gone. But I think Michigan now kind of takes a little bit of dive, because if I'm the recruit going somewhere nice and this coach is coming into my house and promising, me something in these next 4 years, and I know he's going to dip out before those 4 years are gone, I don't know if that's a school I want to go to. Obviously it's a prestigious school and you can go there for your own reasons, especially if, you've grown up a Michigan fan. We see that so many times, kids grew up a certain fan. That's where they end up. You could see that very much happen in a similar situation. But I think this hurts bringing in some of those top recruits that you've seen him be able to pull in these last few years. Matt, back here on the show. Jim Harbaugh.
Sorry about that. I guess when you put your do not disturb calls on and somebody calls you after like the fourth time, it actually goes through. So my apologies
wonderful.
for that. Yeah. So I'm like, my phone's on do not disturb. How's the call going through right now? Like, what the heck? That shows you how bad
fair enough.
are.
But we got another segment here to talk about before we wrap up the show, and it's not the one you're going for. It is actually somewhere in here. Changes coming to the Big Ten potentially. Potential changes coming. This one kind of as a result potentially what happens with the college football playoff and how they change that up. And I think this would be great. This also has something to do a little bit with that alliance with the Pac-12 and the ACC, what I've been calling the Northern Alliance, because I think it works, and pretty much all the teams in those three divisions are northerly states compared. And when everybody says the South in football, the Southeast Conference, and encompasses Texas, Carolinas, and down. So, besides the few Carolina schools that are in the ACC, it's pretty south or pretty north conference as well, like the Big Ten. But what is potentially happening? Well, the Big Ten currently has East and West divisions and plays a 9-game conference schedule that includes 3 cross-divisional games. Big Ten administrators have discussed dropping to 8 games beginning in 2023, so it can create matchups with teams from the Pac-12 and the ACC conferences that will line up into that working arrangement called the Alliance. Serious discussions about the Big Ten ending divisional play with schools playing 3 opponents annually and cycling through the other 10 teams every other year, 2 years on, 2 years off, whatever it may be. A lot of conversations back and forth. But I think this is interesting to see, because I think we've kind of said it here the last few months on the show. The divisions in the Big Ten aren't working out very much. They put these in here, and with the Legends division, the Leaders division, that wasn't working. They flipped them around to the East and the West. This clearly isn't working because the East is so dominant. I think what this does is it creates a reason for teams like Minnesota, like Iowa, like Northwestern, like Wisconsin to get better, because at the moment they can be what they are right now and make it to a Big Ten championship. And then you have 3-4 teams on the east side of it that are infinitely better than what those teams on the west are producing, and they won't even get into the Big Ten championship. Because how much more interesting would it have been if you saw Michigan State versus Michigan in the Big Ten championship, or Ohio State versus Michigan in the Big Ten championship, rather than the 42-3 beatdown we saw of Michigan over Iowa, or go back a couple of years, the 59-0 beatdown of Ohio State over Wisconsin. The Big Ten championship has created no interest in the last, 7 years? Has there really been one you went into and went, I'm so intrigued on who's going to win this? Maybe once or twice.
The Penn State-Wisconsin Big Ten championship was a good game. Penn
But
State
at the
won
end of
that
the day,
game.
remember, it meant
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
That Big Ten
Penn
championship
State
meant nothing for Penn State.
No, that's right, because Penn State
Because
didn't get
Ohio
into
State
the
got put in instead of Penn State.
Penn State
So
didn't.
you've created this championship that basically means nothing. And it's
That's
boring to
right.
watch because you pretty much know what's going to happen. And I think you get rid of these divisions and you go to what the Big 12 has done. It works perfectly fine for them. Your top two teams go in. And what I think this does, once again, you have the potential for Ohio State and Michigan to finish out the season, where most likely you're seeing rivals in a championship game to decide the fate. If that's not what the lifeblood of college football is, then people need to go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, and rewatch what started all these rivalries. Because you know what? Ohio State and Michigan every year, a long time ago, was deciding your Big Ten champion and who was going to the Rose Bowl. We have that chance again in college football, and if they don't jump on it, I don't know what college football they want to see at this point, because that is the college football that everyone's been screaming about. They want back. They want every game to matter. Then damn it, make every game matter if you want it to. You get to a certain point and you start seeing nothingness take place every week, and you go, why am I watching this? And you get a team coming down the final weeks, and it's like, darn, we're stuck in second place of the Big Ten East, but we have, we'd be 5 games over the top team in the Big Ten West, and they're going to the championship and we're not. That's nonsense. Or how about the situation just season prior with Ohio State and Indiana? Ohio State got put into the Big Ten championship. They changed the rules, but why not just have had Ohio State and Indiana duel it out once again? I think that would have been a better matchup than what we got. This is creating better football, and at the end of the day, what we want is better, more important football, because also part of that, the Big Ten could potentially send 2 teams to the college football playoff, and I think that's the only way it happens. I think the only way it happens if it's Ohio State and Michigan going up there as 2 and 3 teams, and they knock each other out in back-to-back weeks, in close games. Because then both teams have a reason to be in there. It's like, hey, but we got the game back. So I think this is one of those only chances you can see the Big Ten get in, because it's clear at this point. The SEC, if they want 2 teams in, they get 2 teams in. It's no question at this point.
Yeah, that is true. And we don't like seeing that anymore, 2 teams in the SEC. We want to see 2 teams from the group of 5 or Big Ten or anybody else. ACC, if they're good enough.
As much as we can say I'm tired of seeing these same matchups, then that goes on everybody else to step the hell up. Get in there. Do what Texas A&M is doing. Texas A&M has recruited the hell out of their own state and is now coming out with 4 amazing recruiting classes over these last 4 years. They brought in a strong head coach. What is USC doing? They just brought in a huge head coaching hire in Lincoln Riley. All the recruits are following him out there. If you want to win a title and you're tired of seeing these matchups, then call on your program to step up and actually put a team together that can win a game. Because you know what? If you're willing to sit back there and play the same style of football you've been playing for the last 10 years and you've gotten nowhere, Penn State, I'm kind of looking at you. It's time to shake things up. Do something different. If what you're doing isn't working, then don't keep doing it. You look like an idiot when you do that.
And I have so much.
If you don't change, you die, and that is how sports have always worked.
It is true, and I've had so much. I have a lot of respect for Sean Clifford, but man, his time is done. It's Drew Allar's time. Bring in your 5-star quarterback.
I'm not just talking about Sean Clifford. I'm talking about this whole situation with Penn State.
Yeah, me too.
Getting all the hype in the world, all these great recruits.
And they're not doing anything. That's my team. That's how. How do you think I
what
feel?
He's built. At the same time, he's not winning.
He's not winning.
What is the only thing that matters in college football? Only thing. There's one thing that matters.
Championships. Big Ten championships. National championships.
He has 1 Big Ten championship.
Just 1. Yeah, you could. Listen, let me go off for a second. Listen, we got 10 minutes. All right. 5
We
minutes.
got another segment to get to, though.
Yeah, we'll get there. Give me 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Listen, you signed 10 years, all right? 10-year contract. Good job, Franklin. And it was his birthday the other day, so happy birthday. Happy birthday. But, you bring in your 5-star quarterback. That's good. Drew Allar from Medina. You got the running back. Singleton's going to be great. You finally got your next Saquon-like running back. You have great wide receivers. Of course, Dotson is leaving, but you still have guys that can catch the ball. And, these guys go through cycles. Before Dotson, there's KJ Hamler. So it just steps up every year. Their defense is still going to be strong. They got good offensive line. Yes, their defensive coordinator left, but hey, maybe it was time to get another change up in there. Maybe it was time to, bring in a new guy, which they did, and, change things up. Yes, they have a great defense, but we saw that defense wear down. What'd you say?
They've had a great defense. This is what I'm talking about, man. You keep talking about bringing in these new recruits, and it's getting better every year. You've had guys at KJ Hamler's caliber for years. You just talked the next Saquon Barkley. You had Saquon. He didn't win you games.
You had him.
You know what Ezekiel Elliott did at Ohio State? He won games. You know what guys like Derrick Henry did at Alabama? They won games. They won championships. Saquon didn't do that. Saquon gets all this hype because of numbers, meaningless without a title, which he didn't have.
He didn't have.
So this is where I get into that problem of it's time for change in teams like Penn State. Michigan, they finally got to the college football playoffs. Okay, you maybe get another couple of years if you don't make it next year, though.
And Harbaugh almost left. He was almost about to go to the Vikings.
Clearly, he's showing no commitment. It's time for Michigan to go, okay, screw you. Let's go get our next guy. Let's go get a guy that wants to be here and commits to us. You go have fun in the NFL. We're going to build something here.
9 hours with the Minnesota Vikings yesterday.
What?
He spent 9 hours with the Minnesota Vikings yesterday talking about becoming their head coach, and they didn't even give him an offer.
He was saying goodbye to players and faculty at Michigan. He was saying goodbye to people because he thought the job was his.
Yeah. But they didn't give him an offer.
Now it's the Rams offensive coordinator who's looking for the top spot.
Yeah. So he was going to leave them in the dust for the NFL.
But Matt, this is what I'm talking about. We're seeing teams.
They gave him an extension.
We're just seeing complacency out of teams like Penn State.
I hate that. I hate complacency.
Maybe even a little bit Ohio State. They've stuck to what they worked for so long now, and now it's not working. And you saw Ryan Day. He just changed out the entire system of Ohio State football in the first month of the offseason. He changed out everything. I mean, he pretty much wiped the slate clean of what we saw out there, with the exception of a couple of guys on the offensive coaching staff. And I think that's what you need to do. If I'm James Franklin, if I'm one of these coaches that is in a situation where we're not winning with what we've been doing, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my best friend. I'm firing you because my job is on the line. My pockets are on the line. My family is on the line. I need to win as much as you do. And if you're not helping me do it, get out of my way.
And, this is a business where you can't have best friends because,
you can have best friends, but you can't take it personal.
You can't take it personal. It is a business. It is a business.
And that was one of the biggest problems with Urban Meyer, bringing all of his friends back along, and you kind of saw it didn't work. I mean, he won a title, and we like him for that, but at the later stages, and Kerry Kuma's being left on this coaching system as long as he was with the failures of our secondary, no other coach would have gotten past that if he wasn't so affiliated with the university itself. So we got to move on here. This is a topic that we're going to be yelling about all offseason. So this one, the Heisman way too early, is at number 5. We got to run through it. Travion Henderson, the Ohio State running back, I think he's definitely got a great chance on this one. Yeah. Especially after his rookie season. When he was smashing records, he slowed down in the later half. I want to see him step back up. 4, the Texas running back, Beyond Robertson, second year.
And they're going to be a good team this year.
Definitely could be an interesting watch, especially second year under Sarkisian. His offensive play style can get big. The new USC quarterback, Caleb Williams. This is my question mark on this one because he is making that step over. It'll be the same offense, defense, different guys, though, on that system to work with. Interested to see if he can put up the same numbers outside of the Big 12. Better defenses in the Pac-12 than we saw out of the Big 12. At number 2, Bryce Young, last year's Heisman winner. He's a clear favorite to win the season. But one of the biggest problems is we've seen a lot of times, even if you put up the same numbers or better like Lamar Jackson, the voters won't give it to you 2 years in a row. They want to let Archie Griffin be that only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. You've seen it a lot recently of guys getting it young, won't get it the second year or even the third year. I think they're in for a similar situation with Bryce Young. And number 1, that leaves CJ Stroud. Had better numbers than Bryce Young, despite playing less, probably should have won it, yet he was, 5th or 6th in the voting. So, those are your 5s for the Heisman way too early. for me, we had one more in here that Mike voted for that didn't make the cut. Dylan Gabriel, the new Oklahoma quarterback. I definitely think an interesting one to look at that point, but definitely a lot of dark horses this year. And, this is definitely a topic we're going to continue to talk about throughout the rest of this offseason when we get some college football stuff in here. But personally, I really like what we're going to see out of Bijan Robinson and Travion Henderson. I just wonder if we're going to see the committee actually vote for a running back.
Yeah, and also, dark horse here, look out for Grayson McCall. I know you know that name there. Hang up, wave that flag. Wave that flag. I know you got it around there somewhere. Grayson McCall, the Coastal Carolina quarterback. Look out. Look out. I was looking at some stuff this morning.
Yeah, did he? I thought Grayson McCall was going to the NFL. Did he decide to stay?
I think so. Let's look. I don't know. It says he's still here. I don't see anything.
Yeah, no, he said he's going to return.
All right, sweet.
Oh, hold on, I got to see what this one said. He had a really great quote apparently to go along with it. Now, McCall announced his return with one of the most epic quotes of the offseason. When I say I pissed Teal, I mean it. And then he decided to come back. He finished with the nation's best passer rating at 207.6 and second in the nation with a 73% completion percentage. I mean, he definitely put up some serious numbers for Coastal.
Yeah.
You saw that reflect on the season. They were great.
Yeah, they were great. So,
I mean, talk about a team coming out of nothing, into something else. And the Sun Belt getting a really great new team to join the conference. James Madison making the jump from the FCS to the FBS will become a Sun Belt team, I believe, this next season. So a huge jump there for the Sun Belt.
That's sweet.
They get a pretty prestigious football team to come up there. I mean, Jackson Madison, JMU, they've had James Madison, pardon me. They've had some really great years in the past. So I'm interested to see what they do at the next level.
Title.
Oh, Matt, I think maybe one of the biggest things is we've seen all these teams make the jump from the FCS to the FBS, and they're playing great. I mean, Coastal, Appalachian State, just to name a few right now that are, right there on the top of my head. Both those teams are in and out of the top 25 every year now. They're making the jump. I have no problem seeing JMU is going to be right up in there in the next 2 years.
Yeah. Or
this is the best time right now to enter college football because we're seeing so much football being played everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, we are out of time. I got some donuts to go glaze and powdered sugar and put some cinnamon, brown sugar on, whatever I want to put on them. Maybe I'll just douse some in maple syrup, dip some other ones in jelly. Oh, it's making me hungry, but I got that to deal with. Matt, you got some more movies to watch, and everybody gets to enjoy a safe snow day inside. So with that being said, I've been Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison over there. YSN Live coming up next with Power Hour. Keep in mind, games tonight are canceled, so you don't need to leave. And even if games were on, you can watch them right here on the network. You don't have to go out to the games and put your life on the line to go see it. You can watch it right at home for free during the basketball season. But that does it here. I'm Alek. That's Matt. Peace out.